And then the scariest part is attackers are the most immoral, unethical people on the planet. So they are sending out a 300% increase in phishing emails about Corona and COVID because they know that people are so petrified. So in our analysis over the last 3 weeks, 71% of all emails that you receive that say COVID-19 or Corona are actually malware or attacks. Less than 30% are legitimate.
Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions.
All right, this is Ask the Money Nerds, your host, Garrett Gunderson, and this is one of those questions when it comes in, I can't answer it. Like, I'm not the expert, so I went and found who was, and was able to get introduced recently to Dr. Eric Cole. And we got so many people working from home right now. We got more people with, work happening at their house, which means there's a lot of potential data breach. And I've been hearing some stories just this week of people on Zoom calls getting, stuff transcribed and posted out there that wasn't theirs, and, people hopping into the Zooms that weren't even invited. So those are the minor things versus, the identity theft that happens or other data and all the phishing schemes that come through email. So Eric, I'm glad to have you here today to kind of help people navigate this and know what to do to protect themselves.
My pleasure. Like I said, it's one of my favorite topics, making cyberspace safe.
I know you've been, I don't even know how long cyberspace has been around officially, but I know you've got 30 years experience in something, must have been in the early days where I don't even know, like the equipment to get people to the moon or something. I'm not sure. Like, how did you pick this and, how'd you end up doing all this since you're so passionate about it?
No, it's funny. I always tell people I was working in cybersecurity when it wasn't cool. Like you would go to a party and somebody would say, "What do you do?" And you go, "Cybersecurity." And they're like, "Oh, that's the weird guy. Stay away from him." And now it's like the coolest thing on the planet. But no, I actually started at the CIA in '89. So it was before the World Wide Web, before companies were really utilizing it. And what's interesting is I was a professional hacker from '89 to '97. So I saw the whole progression of technology rollout from really government-centric computers that were locked in basements, and unless you went with the SEAL team to physically breach the barriers, you weren't getting in. And then around 92, 93, everyone started interconnecting, and by 94, 95, it was like, woohoo, put everything out there. Who cares about security? Just let everyone access it. And then all this data started getting breached and attacked, and then all of a sudden, in the late 90s, early 2000, all of a sudden security became this hot topic. And now you can't go anywhere without people talking about cyber breaches, exploitation, or cyber compromise.
Well, so this crazy thing happened. I think it was 2010. I go to Egypt for 2 weeks, and there's a bunch of us that go. And so we probably have, 6 or 7 couples. And we end up leaving because it just feels unrest there. There was bombings in Alexandria and all this, and we're in Cairo. And so we take off. We were still there for 11 days of the 14 days, but our friends end up getting stuck there during the revolution. So they're in Tiananmen Square, staying at a hotel, and they shut the internet down. You couldn't get on the internet in Egypt. And so you start thinking about what happens with like hacking and, what kind of war we face with cyber terrorism more so than other things. And I mean, it's really kind of scary and fascinating at the same time.
I mean, just think about how much of your life is really online and you spend online. All your bank accounts, all your investments, all your tax records, all your data, all your but people don't think about the impact it has. But if all of a sudden your home computer or a work computer or even a bank's computer got compromised, it could have a devastating impact to you, your business, or your family.
Right. At a minimum, it's going to be disruptive as hell, but it could be much worse than just being disruptive, right? And people are dealing with enough right now. You don't need a cyber security issue on top of that.
Exactly. And to me, it's the perfect storm because traditionally you had your kids at school with their data, your spouse at their job and you at yours. Now all of a sudden everyone's converged, and I have friends where on an old home computer, their kids are doing homework, they're running businesses, they're filing taxes, and that's an exposure point. And then the scariest part is attackers are the most immoral, unethical people on the planet. So they are sending out a 300% increase in phishing emails about Corona and COVID because they know that people are so petrified. So in our analysis over the last 3 weeks, 71% of all emails that you receive that say COVID-19 or Corona are actually malware or attacks. Less than 30% are legitimate. So you got to be so careful.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So let's protect them. What do they got to do, man? I mean, I've read some of your stuff, but I even told you I got to have someone from my team here with me tomorrow because after reading your things, I'm like, okay, I got to do a couple things. I think I'm doing a few things right, but I got to make sure I'm doing it all right. So what's the first thing people should look at?
First thing is, we looked at over 581, the number keeps increasing, but right now it's 581 samples of malware. And the good news is 100% of the malware runs only on Windows computers. It's not that Windows is more vulnerable, it has such a large install base. So my recommendation is, if you're going to be going through a lot of emails or surfing the web, use a non-Windows based device as the first pass. I have an iPhone or an iPad. Also recognize if you have parents or blessed enough to have grandparents still alive, people over 65 are the biggest target and victims of these attacks because they didn't grow up with tech and they don't know how it works. So what I did is, all of my relatives over 65, I just bought 7 iPads and I just sent it to them and said, stop using your Windows computer, just use the iPad to surf the web, check email, and that's going to remove one of the primary
Those are the two main targets, right? If you're surfing the web or checking email, those are the two main ways you're getting attacked, correct?
Exactly. I always say the 2 most dangerous apps on the planet is your email and your web browser. That's how 99% of the attacks are going to happen. So if you're careful with email, it's all about embedded links and attachments. And with surfing the web, it's all about ads. And this is one that people don't understand. If you go to CNN or Fox News or a legitimate site, those ads that pop up are not actually verified or validated from that company. So for example, when I go to CNN now, all the ads that pop up are for hand sanitizer or toilet paper, and don't even get me started on that. That's a whole different conversation. But they are actually bogus. When you click on them and you go into order that information, it is actually a scam, and they're gonna steal your passwords, your credit card information, and do fraudulent transactions.
Wow.
So even legitimate sites, the ads are run by a third party and are not vetted or validated. So be careful on what you click on.
I really want to text my wife right now as I'm learning from you, because I'm like, I can see her clicking on an ad and buying something like that, you know? I mean, the good news is we have bidets. We're feeling really comfortable with this toilet paper issue, right? You know, but yeah. Okay, so checking from an Apple device because the malware is running on Windows right there. Second, when you're looking at these banner ads, don't click on them to go buy stuff right now. Choose what you're going to buy, use the sources that you're used to buying it from, and that's going to solve another piece. How about like the routers that people have at home and the Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, most people had their Wi-Fi set up 7-8 years ago, and they often said, you know something, I'm not doing anything sensitive. We're doing 1 or 2 hours at night. So most of that Wi-Fi is open, unprotected, and easy for someone to access. Now that we're running businesses, filing taxes, doing everything at home, I would recommend spend 5 minutes just looking at what the router is. It's probably a Linksys or a Netgear. Then just Google search securing Linksys XYZ, and they're very easy steps. You just log in, turn on security, turn on other factors. And here's the part that most people don't understand. It's not about somebody necessarily getting your data. The bigger scam we see is now that everyone's home, people are actually connecting to your Wi-Fi and using it to commit crimes. So if you're in a residential neighborhood or an apartment or a condo where there's people nearby, and typically it's 200 to 300 yards somebody can get to. We're actually seeing people break into your wireless, commit a crime, and then when the police investigate and trace it back, you're the one that's held liable, not the individual. So it's not just your data that you want to protect, it's yourself and your family. I mean, these cyber criminals are crazy. They have no ethics, and they're coming after you any way they can.
You know, it's funny as you describe these people. I mean, like, no morals, no ethics, like no remorse. Like, are they mostly sociopaths, or what is the makeup? I mean, you got this CIA background, so I'm sure you know.
It's interesting because with traditional crimes, somebody that's going to rob a bank or rob a convenience store, it's usually the lower end of the gene pool. It's usually the people that aren't too smart, aren't too brilliant. But now with cyber crimes, it's exactly what you said. It's almost the other end of the spectrum where there's that fine line between brilliance and insanity. It's these really brilliant, really smart people that either can't get jobs, they can't get dates. I joke, most of them, their girlfriends are inflatable, they're not real, right? So they're not your typical social type, and they just feel justified behind their computer trying to break into these systems. And the part that makes it even worse is we know who they are, where they are. I can give you their location, their picture, their name, but they're typically in Venezuela, Russia, or China, and those three countries all have something unique. It's not illegal to hack outside the country, and there's no extradition treaties with the United States. So it's almost a low risk, no risk crime with huge benefits and huge payoffs.
Wow. I'm floored by that whole thing. And like, yeah, damn. And I see your, a level of excitement around exposing this kind of stuff and sharing with people, because so far, pretty simple suggestions that can make a big difference, right? Like, it's not like you don't have to be a tech savvy teenager to get this at this point.
What I always say is cybersecurity is not hard. It's just understanding some of the basics in the way it works. And like another really simple tip, but very, very effective, is your bank accounts have security built in, but it's turned off by default. Now, here's what most people don't realize. If somebody can break into your bank account and do a fraudulent wire transfer, an EFT, if you catch it within 24 hours, the bank can reverse it. After 24 hours, the money's usually gone. So what you want to do is go into your bank account. It takes 30 seconds and turn on text notification. So now anytime somebody tries to transfer money, does a wire transfer, or tries to log into your account, you get a text notification on your phone. And then if it's not you, you can immediately call up the bank and block it. But most people, and I'm dealing with a case now where this was an executive of a large hospital. She was tech savvy, and she is out $400,000 because she didn't check her account till the end of the month. And it was 21 days from the time of the activity. And because she gave up the information, she's actually liable and not the bank.
Yeah, we had a client that had this situation. It was a large sum of money. Yeah. So I just took a note, getting with my controller when we hang up from here and making sure, because I have two-factor authentication on so many things, but I'm sitting there going like, is she getting the text messages on the bank account security, or is someone? Because if not, yeah, that's insane that I'm in finance and I'm not 100% certain about that.
Yeah. And two-factor authentication is good, but one of the things the attackers do, which it's very clever in a bad way. So they'll call you up on the phone. So you get a call and it'll be like, hey, this is John from the bank. And listen, we've noticed some weird activity on your account, and we want to verify and make sure it's you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to send you a one-time code right now, just so you can verify your identity. Okay, I just sent the text to you. And people think, oh, they're helping us. And really what they did is they're breaking into your account, and you're just giving them the two-factor. And I've seen that happen so many times. I'm like, listen, the bank will never, ever ask you for two-factor. They'll never text you that and call you on the phone. So if you ever get a phone call or an email where somebody's asking for that information, grab small children and run to the nearest exit, but do not reply back, because people just don't understand how it works, and the attackers are just tricking them.
All right, got it. That's good to know. So what else should people be doing? I mean, you're just filled with insights here. You know, it started as one question. Now it's just me asking questions, you know?
Yes. So. The other big one is, even if you're going to do an initial pass of email on a non-Windows device, most of us have to do work. Like if we're going to do PowerPoints or spreadsheets, we're going to be on a Windows computer. Most people's home computer was older. It wasn't updated because they really didn't use it for a lot of things. Now that you're home and you're using it for your job 12, 14 hours a day, make sure you're running the latest operating system. It has to be above Windows 7. Windows 10 is recommended. Make sure you're getting the updates and patches. And then most important is make sure you download an endpoint security product like a McAfee, a Sophos, a Kaspersky, one of those. They're not perfect, but they provide a high level of protection. And once again, all of these things take a couple of minutes and they're all searchable. If you just search on automatic updates in Windows, updating your Windows operating system, it's step-by-step, easy to do, but makes it that much harder for the attacker.
So do you have a list that people can get on, or products or books that they could buy? I mean, you're just a wealth of knowledge. So how do people get access?
So a couple things. One is I put together a free cyber guide that puts many of these tips we talked about, plus a few more. So if you go to secure-anchor.com/cyberguide, that's a free download. If you go to onlinedanger.com, I also have a free book that you can order. And then if you just want to sign up for my mailing list, if you go to secureanchor.com, you can put your name and email address in there. And then I send weekly updates on cyber tips and tricks and things you need to do to be safe in cyberspace.
I love the energy that you bring to this. And I took notes while you were talking. So I've got things I have to do from the interview today. So I really appreciate it. Any final sentiments or statements to the viewers or listeners?
The final comment I'd like to make is the two biggest mistakes that everyone makes that turns them into victims is they think, oh, no one's going to target me. I'm not big enough. I'm this. No one's going to come after me. They only come after government or other entities, and that's false. If you have $1 in the bank, if you have an identity, a social security number, you are a target, and they're going to come after you. And then the second biggest mistake is they assume that these technologies that we utilize are secure by default. They have security built in, but you have to turn it on. So my second tip is cybersecurity is your responsibility. So if you remember that you're a target and cybersecurity is your responsibility, that'll go a long way to keeping you safe.
What kind of increase are we seeing during this quarantine and COVID-19 situation and activity? Is it spiked, or can you tell?
Almost exponential vertical, and here's why. Two factors are at play. Companies overnight had to support a remote workforce. So the way you support a remote workforce is you do one of two things. You either put all your servers accessible from the internet, which is a big exposure, or you move everything to the cloud very, very quickly. So that alone has now increased the attack vectors because that data is now accessible. Second big thing is when you're in a corporate environment, when you're in an office building, you have a lot of protection measures. Most of our clients, even medium-sized companies, when you're surfing the web or an email's coming in, there's 5 different technologies that filter out all of that information and data. Well, now that you're working from home, all that's gone. So now you're receiving everything directly and you're going after it. And then the final piece is attackers love when people are emotional, because when you're emotional, you make irrational decisions.
Yeah, clicking on that COVID-19 email.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the one that has infected more computers than anything was an email from your company, and it says 5 employees at your company have been infected with COVID-19.
Yeah, you can see why that would work. Yeah.
And I mean, people, now after the fact, I talk to these folks and they're like, yeah, I guess once I relaxed and I looked at it from a normal perspective, that doesn't make sense. But at the time, they're just like, what? They just click, click, click.
Man, yeah, preying on emotions. This was a wealth of knowledge and great energy that you brought to it. So I really appreciate you, Eric. I'm glad you're helping people stay safe. I mean, we got to be out there protecting our health, our finances, and our information and all that comes with it. So
Exactly.
I really appreciate you, man.